Well, as Arsenal is struggling to get back to winning ways tomorrow, they have a game they have to win to obviously see to it they obviously go ahead of Nottingham. Sorry, to really go ahead of Nottingham Forest. Because why am I saying that? They should go ahead of Nottingham Forest because they are tied on 19 points. And we look at the Premier League table, it's Chelsea, Arsenal, Nottingham, and Brighton that have 19 points. And that shows you exactly how the league is really tight. And Nottingham Forest, that means they are not an easy nut to crack because they've come up with a proper system to see to it that they put up the best of attack and obviously win the games they've gone ahead, obviously, to obviously face. And that means when you look at Nottingham Forest, they've gone ahead to play games and they're equal at points with Arsenal. It really sends a very huge message to the side of Arsenal on how Nottingham is really coming to obviously be a very, very hard force to obviously disarm at the Emirates. And I think that is the biggest positive. Now, when you look at Nottingham Forest in the league, their first game, they drew with Bournemouth 1-1. All right. They went ahead to beat Southampton by 1-0. That is away from home. At home, they drew with Wolves 1-1. They beat Liverpool 1-0, and they went ahead obviously to collect 3 points at Anfield. That should be that should send shockwaves to the fans of Arsenal. Then they drew with Brighton 2-2. They lost to Fulham 1-0. They drew with Chelsea 1-1 at Stamford Bridge. They beat Crystal Palace 1-0. They beat Leicester City 3-1. They went ahead, obviously, beat West Ham 3-0. And Newcastle beat them in the last game by 1-3. And why did I obviously go and obviously read you these results? The reason is simple. By the way, most of the wins that Nottingham Forest has gotten this season, they've gotten them away from home. Liverpool, here are those wins. They beat Liverpool 1-0. You get? They went ahead, obviously, draw with Chelsea 1-1 at Stamford Bridge. Get that right. They beat Southampton by 1-0. So that shows you that they are really good visitors. On the road, they are really a very beautiful team, that is Nottingham Forest. And that really sends a very huge message to the club of Arsenal that it's not going to be that easy. So we are here to obviously wait and see how things are really going to be doing the needful for the club of Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. But remember, this is the Rokani Media Football, and we are powered by Monoga, just dealers in brand new phones and brand new laptops. They also deal in used phones and used laptops. After that, they also have what we call affordable smartwatches. Call them on +256 70 99 88 665. I repeat it, +256 70 99 88 665 or 070 9988 665. That is Muno Gadgets for you, and they'll obviously get you to where you want to be. When you look at Arsenal, Benjamin White is not available, but the rest of the players I think are really back. You get the managers talked about Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Leandro Trossard. They've gone ahead obviously today. I think it's now Takahiro Tomiyasu, another one who is really out. Ricardo Carafiori went ahead obviously take part into the training session today. And that means he's really going to be part of the team squad that is really going to be playing tomorrow. Kien Tierney is also back in training, and we can't wait to see how things really happen. Now, they are telling us that, in contrast, it is as it were on the fitness front for Nottingham Forest, as Nuri Espirito Santo only has long-term absentees. Danilo has an ankle injury, and Ibrahim Sangare has a thigh injury. So those are really out. But assessments have to be undertaken on Moliro, that left-sided centre-back, and 8-goal striker Chris Woods following their trips to other side of the globe for qualifiers. Although the former did not earn any minute on his Brazil call-up, and should be fine to start the Emirates. Obviously, Taiwo Awonyi would be a component stand-in for Woods, and Taiwo Awonyi. Now, last season, Arsenal had to collect 6 points from Nottingham Forest, and both fixtures ended 2-1 in favour of Arsenal. You remember the opening game, that saw Arsenal beat Nottingham Forest by 2-1, right? Then, was it 2-1? Was it 2-0? Then the other game they played at the City Ground Stadium, Arsenal went ahead, obviously beat this side by 2-0. Gabriel Jesus and Martin Odegaard were onto the attack, onto the scoreline. So that's how everything is really panning out for the side of Nottingham Forest, and they're really taking on Arsenal at the Emirates. Now, let's get into the probable starting 11 as we expect Arsenal to obviously come up and really line up, as the likes of Benjamin White, Takahiro Tomiyasu are really MIA, meaning that they are missing in action. In goal, obviously it's going to be David Raya, right? Because he has proven that he's a first choice goalkeeper. Even the Spanish national team, he has shown us that he is really a very huge guy to obviously impact his game. Then on the right back, that's where huge questions are, because Benjamin White is away, Tomiyasu is away, and obviously we've seen the manager of Arsenal that he trusts this guy known as Thomas Partey to be played onto the right back of Arsenal. And the big question is, can Thomas Partey match the pace of Elanga or Calmson or Odoi? Because these players are really very ultra quick. But there is one thing you have to remember about Partey. He pocketed Diaz, one of the deadliest left forwards in the league, when they're playing at Emirates. So if you can pocket Diaz, you can as well pocket Elanga and Calmson Odoi. And remember, what makes Diaz a very difficult player to mark is that he has the pace that Calmson Odoi and Elanga do have, but we all understand that this guy has a better skill set. I'm talking about Diaz. So if at all he went ahead, obviously pocket a player who is really having a better skill set than Elanga and Calmson Odoi, and one thing they all have in common is pace, I think it comes to our know that Partey has all the keys to obviously close that avenue, to see to it that those two players of Nottingham don't really operate. And you know how deadly Nottingham has always gonna hate to be. Left back, I think it's really gonna be Julian Timber, and I see no reason for the manager to obviously rush the player known as Carafiori. But all in all, I can tell you, players that have gone ahead obviously make it to the training session of Arsenal, they've on several occasions found themselves doing the needful to obviously put in the required shift all together. So we are waiting to see how that pans out, but I see Julian Timber being played as a left back. He has returned on very well from the international break, and he played for Netherlands, by the way, as they qualified for the quarterfinals of the UEFA Nations League. Then, right-sided centre-back. Obviously, it's going to be William Saliba from France, and then left-sided centre-back, it's going to be Gabriel Magalhaes, who travelled all the way from South America as he represented Brazil. That is the back five for the side of Arsenal. Now, if Partey is being brought into the right back position, how is the midfield going to look? Obviously, I think Declan Rice obviously has trained today, and if he has trained today, I tell you, he's really going to start. I told you that Arteta went ahead, obviously, get that player forcefully onto the pitch by really giving him what we call an injection, and when he gave him that injection, obviously, he couldn't really find himself really going for a full 90 minutes. He played an hour, and he was taken off, meaning that if he has trained today, he has fully recovered and is back to full fitness. That is Declan Rice for you. Alongside him in the midfield is really going to be having the following players. Mikel Merino is one of those that is really going to be putting in a very good shift alongside Declan Rice, and then it's going to be Martin Odegaard. And we look at that midfield, that's how it looked, apart from Martin Odegaard missing the game of Liverpool. And I think they really had a very good go, and the communication between Declan Rice and Mikel Merino is really moving on well. And remember, at the start of the season, I told you, this is the ideal midfield for Mikel Arteta. And people were like, Partey has to be in. I respect Thomas Partey, but I believe he's in the wee hours of really playing for the club of Arsenal. That's what is really running into my mind. He's really in the wee hours of really playing for the club of Arsenal. So, Odegaard, obviously, he went ahead to snub the international break and was like, my team is really suffering, and there is no reason as to why I'm going to really be playing for Norway, because even if I go ahead and play for them, they're not going to qualify for the quarterfinals of the UEFA Nations League. So what he did, he was like, as I've just gone ahead, returned from injury, played my first 90 minutes ever since I really got injured from the previous, I think, international break. Obviously, he was like, what is the best thing to do? And the best thing to do was to see to it that we really find ourselves in a position of not messing up. And he was like, I'm not gonna really mess up. That is Martin Odegaard for you, and he's really gonna be captaining this team. And you saw how important he is when Arsenal was playing the side of Chelsea. He created that only one goal, and he saw to it that in the attacking phase, he really went ahead, obviously put in very beautiful shifts that called for even the manager, known as Mikel Arteta, to obviously come up and obviously even hail him that if a player has not been playing for some times and he comes in and really puts in a full 90-minute performance like that, then he deserves his flowers as a player. So he's really very pivotal in how Arsenal really plays. And that's why Arsenal are really looking in for players like Odegaard, because they know to it that they need players of that pure quality. Because when Odegaard is away, Nwaneri is really one of the forces that is really not trusted at the club of Arsenal. We have to all come in here and really understand that better. So that is it, coming in through from the man himself, Rokani David, and that is the midfield three. Mikel Merino, obviously one of those players that people haven't gone ahead to understand. I don't know why people haven't gone ahead to understand Mikel Merino. Look at his stats. You get, he's a very good player, and some people have gone ahead obviously misquote the Premier League for pace, but Mikel Merino rarely loses possession, and he finds himself in better positions that have always gone ahead obviously put in the required shift altogether. So that is Mikel Merino for you, and I really love him to see to it that he puts in those shifts into the mix. So that is Mikel Merino for you. Now, right forward, he walked off the pitch when they're playing Chelsea before, I think, the referee blew the final whistle as it was 10 minutes to go, and I think it's really going to be Saka Bukayo onto the right attacking side, Martinelli onto the left attacking side of the midfield, and then Kai Havertz is really going to be leading the line. And I think this is the game that Arsenal need to get back to winning ways, because in the last games they played, I think 4 Premier League games they played, Arsenal won nothing of those. First and foremost, they found themselves in a position of really losing to Bournemouth as they return from the national break. Then they found themselves in a position of really drawing the Liverpool 2-2. They lost to Newcastle 2-1, and they drew with Chelsea 1-1, meaning that out of the possible 12 points, Arsenal went ahead to obviously collect 2, meaning that they went ahead to lose 10 points in those 2 games, meaning that you wouldn't like to obviously come up and obviously lose more points as a person who really believes in really taking the trophy, because this has obviously helped this has obviously come up and really helped the side of Arsenal to obviously act as a springboard or a bounce back, because their next fixtures aren't gonna be easy as people think. When you look at the fixtures of Arsenal, you understand Arsenal's next fixtures, after Nottingham, they are playing West Ham away, they are hosting Manchester United, they are playing Fulham away, they are hosting Everton, they are playing at Crystal Palace, 27th December, they are hosting Ipswich Town. So the next 6 fixtures of Arsenal are really very, very, very hard. And I tell you what, Arsenal needs to come up and obviously put in a required shift altogether. You get? So that is Arsenal for you. And we know to it that we are into that phase of life. You understand? That phase of life, where the club of Arsenal is really working tooth and nail to get back to where they deserve to be. And with Ed really leaving, I tell you, they need to obviously come up and obviously put the required shift altogether. So that is the probable starting 11 for the club of Arsenal, and I'm calling in for your reactions onto that. But when you look at Nottingham Forest, we anticipate them to obviously come up with the following starting 11 as Nottingham Forest. We expect Sales in goal, Aina right back, Moreno left back, Milenkovic and Moliro in the central defense, Domingos Yetes, and and Gibbs White into the midfield three. Then Hudson Odoi, Elanga, and Wood. All Woods are really going to be leading the line. So that's how everything is really going to be panning out for now. And let's wait and see how this really pans out and gives us the best of the best. So that is the side of Nottingham Forest. But those fullbacks of us are really going to be having a very hard job to do, because this team is really a counter-attacking team. Arsenal is really going to be having the lion's share of the possession, but when they hit them on the break, what is really going to happen? And my only promise is that if Arsenal comes up and obviously scores goals, because they're really going to be having the possession, they're really going to be creating chances, but if they fail to really utilize their chances, I tell you, Nottingham will obviously come and stun you, because I don't see Arsenal keeping a clean sheet tomorrow, right? Because their defense has been shaky. Unless otherwise, this international break has brought back the rock that we've always gone ahead to know in Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba. If not the case, then we'll be here to wait and see how everything is really going to be panning out into the mix. Now, let's obviously get into what we call the head-to-head stats. 1. Arsenal have won 6 of their last 7 Premier League games against Nottingham Forest, with the exception being a 1 loss at City Grounds in May 2023. You remember that loss very well. Secondly, Nottingham have lost each of their last 4 Premier League away games against Arsenal and are winless in their last 10 visits to the Gunners, 4 draws and 6 losses since 3-1 win in 1989. So they last went ahead to collect a win at the Emirates in 1989. But let's wait and see how that happens. But history is on the side of Arsenal. Thirdly, Arsenal are winless in their last 4 league games. 2 draws, 2 losses, as many times as they've failed to win in the previous 25 games combined. 21 wins, 3 draws and 1 loss. The Gunners haven't had a longer run without a league win since a run of 7 between November and December 2020. So that is really hard for the club of Arsenal, and they need to come out and rectify this. Having won just 3 of their first 3 Premier League away games since their return to the division in 2022, Nottingham Forest have now won 5 of their last 7 on the road. Forest are looking to go unbeaten in their last 6 away games in a single top flight campaign for the first time since 1995 to 96. That is Nottingham Forest for you. Lastly, no sides have scored more Premier League goals from a set piece situation, excluding penalties, this season than either Arsenal or Nottingham Forest. Meanwhile, 33% of the Gunners' goals conceded have come from set pieces, 4 out of 12, with no team shipping a higher such ratio in a competition this team. So we are waiting to see how things really happen, but Arsenal has shown us that it's always a high-scoring fixture. It's really a game that they've gone ahead to win, and out of the last 10 games, Arsenal has won 6, and they've gone ahead to obviously lose 1 of those games. So I call upon for your reactions into the comment section below. Remember, we are powered by Mono Gadgets, dealers in brand new phones and brand new laptops, and they also deal in used phones and used laptops from the United Kingdom. Now, if you want to really get to know what exactly it means, obviously have a gadget from the United Kingdom that is really used at a cheaper price, call Mono Gadgets on 070 9988665. That is Mono Gadgets for you, and we'll be having them at your dial. And they also have affordable smartwatches. As you go into this Christmas period, find them there, and they obviously take you to where you deserve to be. So that is Mono Gadgets for you. Rokani David remains my name. I sign out for now. See you later, and hope I've come in late, but I've gone ahead to obviously give you a video that is really worth it. Not so? I think you've gone ahead to enjoy it. Now your predictions into the comment section. I go Arsenal 3, Nottingham Forest 1. Arsenal gets back to winning ways. But remember, before Arsenal really comes to play into these Premier League games, I tell you what, there are other teams. Let me see. Chelsea is starting off the day with Leicester City. That is at 15:30 hours. That is Chelsea for you. That means Arsenal and Chelsea are level at 19 points, and they'll come into this fixture knowing exactly what the result is and what reaction will be needed for them to go in there for you. But I think this should be an easy game for Arsenal. If you're really chasing Man City and you know to it that City and Liverpool really have to play Aston Villa, they have to play Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool and Man City have to face one another. That means you don't have to really lose a game, meaning that no room for error. Go ahead, win all the games before you obviously get into the new year, because Liverpool has to play Aston Villa. Liverpool played Aston Villa. They have to play City. They have to play Tottenham Hotspur, right? So if Liverpool can get draws, that means Arsenal can really close onto those points if at all they continue winning. But that is only possible. A negative result from the game of Liverpool, any negative result from the game of Liverpool in the next 7 games or 8 games before we enter the new year will make sense if at all Arsenal don't drop any points. If Arsenal continues to drop points, they'll obviously find themselves being mocked off the trophy. I'm out. Bye-bye.